What if I told you that the teenage genius who revolutionized virtual reality, sold his company to Facebook, got fired from Facebook for a political donation, and then built a $30 billion defense company, is no longer a teenager and is now working with Mark Zuckerberg once again, this time on military-grade augmented and virtual reality, AR/VR. This is Palmer Luckey's full circle moment, and it's happening right now with a $22 billion augmented reality military contract, one that could change warfare forever. This is a dumb helmet. The next generation integrated head protection system, IHPS, is the new Army helmet introduced in February of 2024. When the Army fields a new helmet, it does so in the hundreds of thousands. It weighs just over 3 pounds before all the valuable tech like night vision goggles and radio comms. Attachments easily put that weight over 5 to 6 pounds. While this helmet supposedly punches 40% above its weight when it comes to ballistic and fragmentation protection, it's still a dumb helmet. And not all that different from models dating back 20 years and beyond. You attach the same attachments, ear protection, radio communications, night vision goggles. Yes, likely better versions of each of those, but still down to the operator to synthesize all of that together. But there is a multi-billion-dollar request to change that. And Microsoft just transitioned that contract to Anduril, the company co-founded by Palmer Luckey. That is the same Palmer Luckey who founded Oculus VR. This is a VR headset, 4K plus infinite display with 4.5 megapixels per eye, up to 120 Hz refresh rate, 110 degree field of view, Snapdragon XR2 Gen 2, 8 gigs of RAM, 512 gigs of storage, and controllerless hand tracking through computer vision. And this is the US Army. With a nearly $200 billion planned budget for 2026, over 450,000 servicemen and women, and when counting National Guard and Army Reserves, over 950,000 troops. These three entities are destined to combine, starting with 3 separate but completely compatible numbers. Over 60 billion, more than 30 billion, and nearly 22 billion. Meta's Reality Lab division has spent over 60 billion on research and development. While AR and VR have not yet commercialized in a way that makes shareholders happy about the spend, Meta has been building up or buying some of the most impressive capabilities out there. Here's just one example with CTRL-labs, a specialized wristband that translates electrical motor nerve signals that travel through the wrist to the hand, converting them into digital commands that you can use to control the functions of a device. In total, Meta currently holds 350 plus patents related to optical technologies, including those focused on minimizing size while optimizing visual performance. Anduril, the hottest defense technology company in the world that has raised billions and is valued at more than 30 billion. Anduril counts the largest and most notorious investors and boasts more than 10 different products across land, air, sea, and digital. And then there is one large sum, $22 billion contract trying to bring augmented and virtual reality to the military, ideally more than 100,000 headsets for soldiers. Integrated Visual Augmentation System, or IVAS. This is the US Army's ambitious program to give soldiers Iron Man-like heads-up displays in combat. Think night vision meets a Call of Duty heads-up display, a rugged visor that overlays maps, enemy highlights, drone feeds, and friendly's locations in a soldier's view. The goal? Enhancing combat effectiveness, awareness, and decision-making on the battlefield. IVAS is a body-worn network of sensors and an augmented reality AR visor, letting troops see beyond line-of-sight threats, share data, and dominate in the dark. It's meant to boost survivability against drones and link soldiers to uncrewed systems. Essentially, think of this as technology acting as an extension of human capability, turning ordinary infantry into super soldiers. IVAS reads as much as a tool for the battlefield as it does a training and rehearsal simulator. There's a huge emphasis on tactical planning, network information sharing, and an augmented reality synthetic training environment. The idea? Enable warfighters to fight 25 bloodless battles before actually entering combat. That's the program, and there's a $22 billion contract value attached to it. And that contract just transitioned from Microsoft to Anduril. And just to contextualize advanced helmets, consider the F-35s. The F-35 human-machine interface helmet is said to cost $400,000. The Apache helmet, which serves as the targeting system that actually moves the gun, is closer to $30,000. To make this story stick, we need to go back to 2009. Palmer Luckey is a 16-year-old homeschooled kid obsessed with virtual reality. He's collecting vintage VR headsets from government auctions and working to fund his experiments by any means possible. By age 17, he's created his first prototype, the PR1. And here's what's really crazy. He attracts the interest of legendary game developer and game programmer John Carmack. John Carmack, famous from id Software, that's behind the likes of Doom and real breakthrough game technology, gets his hands on Palmer's prototype at an E3 conference in 2012 and calls it by far the most immersive headset he's ever used.
What I've got now is, I honestly think the best VR demo probably the world's ever seen.
Palmer launches a Kickstarter campaign in 2012 with a goal of $250,000. To no surprise, he crushes that. He raises $2.4 million in under 24 hours. At 19 years old, Palmer Luckey has now just kickstarted the VR revolution. John Carmack himself decides to team up and joins Oculus full-time as their CTO in 2013. But the real shock comes just 1 year later in 2014. Mark Zuckerberg personally calls Palmer Luckey. Facebook wants to buy Oculus for $2.3 billion. Palmer Luckey is 21 years old. The deal breaks down like this: $400 million cash, $1.6 billion in Facebook stock, plus a $300 million earnout. Palmer Luckey, the homeschooled teenager from Long Beach, is now worth hundreds of millions. Mark Zuckerberg said on the acquisition, Oculus has the chance to create the most social platform ever and change the way we work, play, and communicate. Keeping in mind, of course, that Facebook missed owning their own mobile hardware, Mark's promise is not just to make Palmer rich and buy the technology, but rather to continue making significant investments in virtual reality as a major disruptive technology for the future. And Zuck kept his promise too. Their Reality Labs division is 10 years old, and since Q4 of 2020 has spent billions of dollars each quarter, totaling an operating loss of more than $60 billion. Fast forwarding over 2 years to September 2016, the Daily Beast reveals that Palmer Luckey donated $10,000 to something called Nimble America, a pro-Trump organization whose efforts at the time consisted of a single billboard in the Pittsburgh area. Too big to jail. For a tech company based in Silicon Valley, and for some portion of the general gamer population, this was problematic. Internal Facebook emails reveal that executives pressured Palmer to publicly support Gary Johnson instead of Trump. When Palmer refused, the writing was on the wall.
Why was Palmer Luckey fired?
March 31st of 2017 was Palmer Luckey's last day at Facebook. He's 24 years old, and according to the Wall Street Journal, he walked away with at least $100 million in settlement money. Listen to any of Palmer Luckey's interviews, and you'll understand just how much that moment impacted him. His absolute passion, and still to this day the thing that he is most passionate about, was just completely taken away from him. But a teenage, and now early 20s phenom with a whole lot of money wasn't done yet. In June 2017, just 3 months after leaving Facebook, Palmer founds Anduril Industries. Not another VR company, a defense technology company building autonomous weapons systems. I've covered before, Anduril has brought product after product to market, all tying back to their advanced software Lattice. Instead of social VR, Palmer is now building surveillance systems, drones, submersibles, missiles, and software capable of bringing all these systems together for a holistic view. And the results are staggering. Anduril has raised billions in funding from Silicon Valley's top investors and is one of the biggest names in all of venture capital and investing more broadly. Anduril has acquired multiple key component companies like Solid Rocket Motors and their submersible lines. And Anduril is competing head-to-head with the largest legacy defense contractors for next-generation contracts like the Collaborative Combat Aircraft with Fury and the Enterprise Test Vehicle with Barracuda. In 2025, with a brand new $2.5 billion in funding, Anduril reached a valuation of $30.5 billion. But the biggest contract was about to change hands. In 2018, the Army selected Microsoft for a $480 million prototype, and in 2021, awarded Microsoft the largest military augmented reality contract in history, $21.88 billion over 10 years for something called IVAS, Integrated Visual Augmentation System, basically HoloLens for soldiers. By 2022, IVAS prototypes based on Microsoft's HoloLens 2 were undergoing field tests with soldiers. But there were some problems. Soldiers wearing the headsets were reporting headaches, nausea, and dizziness. Then there was visual discoverability. The devices were so bright that soldiers said they could easily be spotted from hundreds of meters away. The initial aim was 100,000 headsets, nearing that $22 billion number all over the span of 10 years. But that quickly changed. Congress cut funding, the Pentagon demanded fixes, all the while Microsoft, primarily a software company, just struggled with the hardware requirements. In 2022, the Army procured 5,000 IVAS 1.0 systems, with just baseline capabilities including navigation and rapid target acquisition with weapon sight camera linkage. In 2023, the Army procured 5,000 IVAS 1.1 systems, which reportedly added an improved low-light sensor to aid maneuvering and positive target identification. Now we're on IVAS 1.2, with some compromising redesigns set to make deliverability more feasible, like reducing the field of view from 70 degrees to 60 degrees. The Army requested a fresh $255 million for fiscal year 2025 to procure 3,162 IVAS 1.2 heads-up displays as one of multiple programs in a line item for night vision devices. Palmer Luckey, the guy who at least restarted the VR revolution, now controls the $22 billion military augmented reality contract, IVAS. But it gets even crazier. In May 29th of 2025, Palmer Luckey and Mark Zuckerberg announced something nobody saw coming. Meta and Anduril are partnering to build military augmented reality systems together. The system is called EagleEye. It combines Meta Reality Labs tech, including breakthrough silicon carbide lenses and 70-degree field of view, with Anduril's Lattice AI platform and defense manufacturing capabilities. Early test capabilities hint at detecting incoming drones, mapping and understanding routes for cover, marking targets without a signature, and sharing all of that information with your teammates. Palmer's quote says it all. It is pretty cool to have everything at our fingertips for this joint effort. Everything I made before Meta acquired Oculus, everything we made together, and everything we made on our own after I was fired from Oculus. Special emphasis on that last part. Think about this. The teenager who revolutionized VR ends up getting bought and then subsequently fired by Facebook for political beliefs, goes on to build a $30 billion defense company, and is now once again working with Meta. So, where's everything at today? IVAS isn't going as planned. IVAS became IVAS Next, and IVAS Next will be reinvigorated as SBMC Next, or Soldier Born Mission Command. The Army is actually opening SBMC up to have a full-on open competition. And what's actually really awesome is they plan to make 2 awards in August of 2025, describing things as a new effort to develop a fused digital awareness system optimized to emerging modular sensor technologies. Anduril and Meta have already submitted a white paper as a team for SBMC Next. And Anduril has made significant progress in transitioning IVAS to SBMC from concept to a demonstrated soldier-tested capability. By the way, the good news is this is all going to be privately funded. Not to mention, this is also a program intended to make use of high-grade commercial technology rather than needing to create advanced bespoke systems from scratch, as is typical in our military production systems. Wrapping everything up, this isn't just about Palmer and Zuck bearing the hatchet. This partnership represents something much bigger. Meta has spent over $60 billion on Reality Labs, with multi-billion-dollar massive losses every quarter. Now they have a path to revenue that could justify those investments. Anduril is going to get access to the world's most advanced augmented reality technology and Meta's manufacturing capabilities as well. And American soldiers have a much brighter outlook for a future system that could provide superhuman situational awareness on the battlefield. Palmer Luckey started this journey as a homeschooled teenager building VR headsets in his garage. Today, he's helping design the future of warfare alongside his former boss. That same boss who's nearly bet his company on this type of technology. Palmer Luckey said, "Of all the areas where dual-use technology can make a difference for America, this is the one he's most excited about. My mission has long been to turn warfighters into technomancers, and the products we are building with Meta do just that." So what do you all think about this relatively dramatic story? And about the partnership between Meta and Anduril? Do you think that reasonably this type of product line could provide a lifeline for all of Meta's crazy investment in this area? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Please give a like and a subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.